me more nervous than any other thing. It's the curse of having a quiet voice. So, yeah, once again, thank you for coming out. I just wanted to mention at our main gallery, Thames Art Gallery, we currently have a hook drop exhibition on. And one of our exhibiting members here, Karen Dysart, her work is featured in a project room. It's wonderful. And she is giving a talk, a free talk, on Friday, June 14th at 7 p.m. And it would be nice if people would come out and show their support. So that's that thing. So we're here to celebrate the work of Bernie. And first of all, I want to thank Jordan Blackburn. Jordan is not here with us tonight. He wrote the essay for Bernie. And Jordan is an emerging artist and RBC First Art Award winner for the province of Nova Scotia. And his work, he's chosen, we selected him to write the essay because his work bridges ideas about craft and fine art. And I just wanted to read his opening paragraph. Put my glasses on. So in the first paragraph, Jordan has written, within exploring Grecian Vases, viewers will experience moments of innovation, deception, paradox, and storytelling, all lying below the glazed surface of first impression. The experience is a vicarious one, offering a glimpse into Bernie Hrytzak's creative process as his focus oscillates between technical, formal, and conceptual interests. I like that little introduction. Bernie has been working with wood for approximately 15 years. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. I read that you got a wood lathe in 2006.
Well, that was an improved lathe.
I thought if we did the math on that, that didn't add up. He has entered jury competitions in Richmond, Virginia, Albuquerque, New Mexico. He's received Best in Show for his Southwest series, which you can currently see in Bayfield. Yes, because I saw it about a month ago.
Did you?
I did. And he has contributed to American Woodturner, where he wrote a 7-page article on building a red guitar. His art is enjoyed by collectors in Canada, the US, and Europe. And I'm going to leave the technical bits to you.
I'm retired.
We'll talk about segmented turning and get it all wrong.
Oh, okay.
So, I'm a painter, so I am just going to reference a painting. That's all. When I think about your work, Bernie, and the hundreds and hundreds of hours that you spend in the shop inventing and creating, I think about a painting by Caspar David Friedrich called Above the Mist. And in this painting, a small silhouetted figure stands on a precipice, overlooking a vast landscape. Over the material wealth of the earth and the awesomeness of it all. And with imagination and creativity, what you might make of it. Congratulations on your show.
Thank you.
And the technical bits are over to you.
Thank you, Irene, for all those kind words.
Where's your number?
So I'd also like to thank a few people here that helped make this night a success. Elora, our curator, she was quite instrumental in making sure everything went very well tonight. Michaela helped as well, thank you. There were others from Thames Art Gallery that helped set up and put things in order, etc. I'd like to thank Tom Nekielski for helping deliver these panels on Monday, and along with, well, everything else, the front window pieces also, which he didn't know were made out of wood until I told him. And also this large piece that I thought I might have to deliver myself, because I couldn't figure out how to deliver it, even though I have a van. I was afraid to, travel with it. But we did a good job. Tom helped me. So, and Irene, thanks for giving me some valuable feedback about 3 months ago. I was working on everything. It seemed like I had a whole bunch of pieces, and everything was at a certain level. And then I had her over. We had some discussions about what I might have a workshop on later. So, and so she actually gave me some good feedback, which was good at the time for me. Lastly, Jordan Blackburn, which Irene mentioned, did the write-up in the booklet. I'm speechless. I don't know what to say about that, because Michaela sent me an electronic copy of that. She asked me about photo credits, but she really was asking me, I think, to read it over and see if I agree. But and I read it, I printed it off, sat down on the kitchen table and read it, and I just sat there, and this nice feeling came over me. I can't express it. I was so pleased. There was nothing I would change, nothing I would do. He just wrote, at least what I'm reading in there is just wonderful for me to read in print about myself as an artist. So, it's like I say, words can't express that, but he did a marvelous job. So tell him that. I'll email him. Okay, I also have to give out a big shout out to 4 people here. They might know who they are. They are Kaylin, Taylor, Ethan, and Owen. They're my grandchildren. So my initial my goal for this project, and it started in September when Pamela, agreed to have me do a show here, and I was looking for like October time frame, and she had June time frame available for me. So as soon as she told me I was on for June, I started working the very next day, because I figured I needed a year and I only had about 8 months. So I started. And my initial goal was to emulate ancient Grecian vases from 800 to 400 BC. So I started doing a lot of research and trying to get ideas. My original idea was to emulate the shape of the vases. So I still started researching different shapes, styles of vases, and I was doing this every morning at like 5 till 9 o'clock in the morning, like doing that for like a month or 2 months, You get a lot of ideas, at that time in the morning, But anyway, so then I have to actually start doing something. So anyway, but just to give you an idea, this all happened like 2,800 years ago, ancient Grecian art, at least the ones we're talking about. So in a matter of how long is that time? 2,800 years ago, it's only 12.5 times greater than a familiar term. You know what that means, right? Familiar term, that's my term. Familiar term to me means, in my lifetime, I knew my grandpa. He was born in 1874, and I know my grandchildren, who is one of them is 1 now, and they're going to live till another 80 years, hopefully, or even more. So that familiar term is going to be 200 and some years. So you divide that into 2,800, that's about 12.5 times, more. So that's really not bad if you look at it in those terms, in my mind, anyway. So for me as a wood artist, I work with wood all the time. Some of the woods I turned from green wood. It's called fogwood. Fogwood is found on ground. So usually it's green, it has to be stabilized, it will crack if you don't treat it properly. So I had to start immediately because some of these vases were actually made with that process. So the clay looking one over there, was one of the ones I started soon. The black one here, the wider one. And so I started roughing them out into different shapes. And then I was looking, I had kind of a list made up of different shapes, what I had, what I didn't, what I still had to do. And then I noticed that I had this shape kicking around in my workshop. It was not in this form, it was just in pieces that still have to be glued up, because this is a glue up. There's about 32 layers on this of rings that are glued up. Each ring is 12 pieces. So these are glue up. So I figured, well, okay, I've got all these on the go. I need really one large one, and this will fit the bill. So this was designated for that purpose, luckily. Because otherwise, if I didn't have that, it would have been taken me much longer. So that's what I did with that. My attempt was to create the look and feel of clay initially. So I thought initially that all my pieces will look. I thought all my pieces would be clay looking. I have instead of using a pointer, I'm going to use a high beam flashlight. That will light it up and it wouldn't blind you also. So that's this one here. So that's the one we're talking about now. So I started with the clay look, and I blended paints to get the color I wanted. And that's easy to do if you're only doing one piece. If you're doing more than one, or if you have to touch a piece up, then, no, oh, okay. Sorry. If you're doing more than one piece, then you're not going to mess the color up again, But anyway, so I did that one. I was pleased with that shape because it's wood and because it was green. It was drying, and you can see it kind of changed dimensions, became on round and a little bit lopsided, and I figured that's great. I've copied a pottery form. That's just like pottery might have been in ancient times, Well then, I was told actually that potters are much better than that. Anyway, so I'm not really promoting that anymore. So then you can see off to the right, there's another form. That's a drinking vessel. Yeah, that's great. That's a drinking vessel. So I did those to match as well. The cosmetic jars in the middle there. I made those out of look like pottery as well. And so on, and then I did these. These are salt and pepper grind. I have never seen those in ancient Greek art. but this is my inspiration. So I did these for photographs. I needed photographs. So I figured, well, I'll do those and we'll have the photographs, which they appear on the literature.
They weren't discovered until now.
Yeah, so this is actually modern times. So anyway, so then I was working along, and my initial goal was to have everything pottery. Of course, I mentioned that already. And then when I did maybe like these 4 different sets of pieces, and I figured, well, I'm not sure that I want to make everything look like pottery. I should try to spruce things up a bit and put some glossy paints on them and stuff. So as I was trying to educate myself on the internet, you know, about different Grecian things, I learned about red figure, black figure art, and what they did with that. So what that was they would put, I guess before that they just had one color of art, but then red figure, black figure arrived, you know. So what they would do is they would load the kiln with the art, and or with the pottery, and they put the temperature up to or at 850 degrees, load it up, and then oxidation would cause the vases to go red. Then they would raise the temperature to 950 degrees C. They would block, they would close the vents so there'd be no oxygen, and they'd have green wood to remove the oxygen that was there. And they'd raise the temperature, and the vessel would turn overall black. Then the final stage, they'd reopen the vents. That would allow oxygen back into the kiln and allow it to cool. The vessel would turn reddish orange due to oxidation. So the painted layer remained glossy black, which was created in the second stage. So the painted layer is the slip that they painted on. That's like a certain kind of clay that does that effect. So then I said, okay, great, I'm going to start, you know, working with that type of art. So the black and the red, that's kind of my inspiration of, you know, that process. That's more orangey. I like the red actually, the red and black. That's kind of that one's my favorite in that series. So I did a lot of research, and I found that the Greek people liked to tell their family or their history, their stories with pictures on vases. So there would be pictures of, what I found was there would be pictures of war, there would be pictures of during the war and after the war, you know, and then after much, well, maybe immediately after the war, there would be social times and more social times. Yeah, and the men, the aristocratic men mostly, they would have these symposiums, and they are unlike symposiums, I think, that we know. But you know, so the men would have these symposiums, and there would be events at the symposiums. It was only men allowed, although some women might have been invited that had maybe some other skills. But anyway, so in these symposiums, what they had to do was they had to cool the wine off. So the item, I guess I'll go over that later, Nancy. But so the cooling of the wine was done using a certain vessel, and then they have to mix the wine for the party. For some reason, they mixed wine with water. And there was a person, his job was to determine the strength of wine for the occasion. I don't know how they determined that. Maybe what was standing in the community aristocratically, which one deserved more, I don't know.
I know the answer.
What's the answer, Tracy?
That there was a big party, so they first served the good wine, and as people consumed and became more cheerful, then they added water to the wine.
Well, that's what some bars do now. So anyway, so rather than myself emulating, you know, all these vessels, I'm just showing you my inspirations of what I learned. No, that's so anyway, so I'm just going to talk about the different vessels here. So the liquitas, and that is, Nancy does the black ones there. The liquitas, those were used for oil in the kitchen. So like olive oils. So those two vessels, and then other things in the kitchen. And just to the right, there's the white ones there as well, just a slightly different form. So you can see the ladies doing the cooking and the men is doing the barbecue. Nothing's changed. The calyx were the drinking vessels. So, I've got two here, one's pottery and one's white pottery. So they were for drinking wine, actually. So if you can imagine, that's a pretty good shot of wine. And probably most of that gets spilled while drinking, you know. But so this one here, this might have been a judge's drinking vessel. You know, as he pondered the justice system, scales there. Or the other one might have been the warrior's vessel. So, and they had a drinking game with those vessels. So they would put wine in it, and they would be sitting at their lounges, and they'd fling the wine at an object that was precariously placed on something. And if the wine hit it, this object would fall off, and I guess they would win, score some points somehow. But it was a very messy game, I think. Okay, so then we have the old peak, that's the pottery, Nancy. Yeah. So we have the old peak that was for storage and dry goods and liquids of items. The trophy cup, that's my version. I didn't see any trophy cups, you know, per se in the ancient, history, but that's my version of, you know, the thing is, I did see a lot of sports and a lot of competitions were performed in the nude, like running and things like that. So yeah, that's what I learned about that. but the pictures that I saw is mostly men in the nude, so you know. Little vessel. So that was to. No, that's the large one, Nancy. That's this one here. So this vessel, it's called an amphora. Was used to transport liquids. It had two handles. The largest was 1.62 meters tall. So mine is, yeah, so that should have been even higher. So mine is quite short. Okay. What's it? Yeah. Yeah, so they were like used as markers for entrances. They were used as markers for people after they left this earth as well. So, you know, putting it mildly. Piscus were cosmetic containers. So women, did I mention that women used to use lead on their faces to keep their faces white looking? So I think they succeeded actually in the long term. The crater, this document here now. The crater was used for mixing wine. So, you know, we already know how that goes. It's a two-handled job. You fill that with wine, you're going to need two people to handle that. So we'll try that sometime, right, Mike?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So what I did with that one is I turned out, I did the graphics and all these other ones. This particular one, I wanted to keep that's cherry wood, and then I put some segmented wood turning. So that's like a hybrid turning even for me. Like I do segmented wood turning, which is the vessel next to it. So you can see how the pieces get glued up, and that's fairly complicated. This one, it's a version, it's more of a mix of processes. So it's a hybrid even for myself. I tried to get some patterns going on the feature ring that I've never done before. So anyway, so I wanted to leave that clear so we could see the cherry wood. And then of course the overlay, that is all my family. So all of this, I figure if the Greeks can do it, I can do that with my family too. I don't show drinking there though. You know? So anyway, I'll just show you. So there's my family. airbag program, right? Mechanical engineer, university, music. I do a little weightlifting. So, teaching. My wife teaches hockey. My girls play. My granddaughters play hockey. Ukrainian dancing. My daughter, artist, flowers. My daughter working at the federal government. Robert for an overcard, making sure we have liquor. Christine playing baseball. And there's Taylor, Kaylin playing soccer. Taylor playing soccer. Yeah, that's it. Oh yeah, and there's the bottom too. Now we've lost our mic here. So bicycling, wood turning, drinking beer, distilling, bicycling, sailing, airplane rides, camping, my road runner, yeah, and born on a farm. That's it. So anybody could have one of those actually. Okay, what else? So that's it. So the geometric period. So this is where once I had, got that far, I was quite satisfied with what I had covered in here. And for the big one, I thought it wouldn't make much sense to have a whole bunch of those kinds of graphics, all over this. And I mean, if you're looking at that, there would probably be like, 40 graphics on this of the same size on that, which wouldn't make sense. So I actually found, the geometric period was someplace around 900 BC. So initially, I was going to cover 800 to 400, and then this guy was just like 100 years before that, around that period. So I figured, I'll jump back another 100 years and do that. So, of course, the ones that I saw online weren't like this. They weren't nice, crisp lines, real shiny gold, and they were more pottery look with, maybe like lighter colored, with a burnt orange, carvings and all that. But I actually like that look. But I figured I'll just jazz it up a bit. So I sprayed this with gold paint. I got all the gold paint they have in Ontario to do this. At Curry's, I buy those little jars. This is like premium paint. You gotta buy little jars. I checked on the internet. They don't have any in London. So I ordered online. They shipped it out of Toronto. I had it the next morning. It's amazing. But then I checked again, they didn't have, so I still needed more, So I ended up buying, these little jars and ended up probably maybe 20 ounces or something like that in gold for that. I mean, that's a lot. So anyway, and then the same thing with the red paint. That's like the blood red paint that I wanted. I didn't want I wanted it to be flashy, but I didn't want the red to really be, that bold. So this is a quinacridone magenta. So anybody heard of that?
Yeah, it's my favorite.
Oh, first, see, somebody recognizes. Great.
Quinacridone magenta.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's what it is, and then it's overlaid with white punter holly. About 2.5 liters of white punter holly. Yeah. So that's what makes it really strong. No, it's it's a large vessel. Working with small vessels compared to that, there's a big difference. It's all the methods that you use on little things, might not work on larger things without some adjustments and things like that. So, but it is what it is now, and that's what it is. So, any questions?
The handles. So for men and women.
Oh yeah. Oh, so these. So yeah. So this one for men, those handles were placed in the way they are. So that's a male vase. For women, they placed the handles, I guess, maybe because the women weren't as tall, so they placed them lower. So the handles would be here. Okay, so that's the difference. So I've seen, yeah, like that would be for well, that's for men, but that style, you know, attached that way would be for women. So anyway, any questions?
The one on the top, the red one.
Yes.
Are you coming?
Oh, so you know the ones that I didn't talk about is because what happened was, and I'll tell you what happened. I designed this display probably like maybe last October time frame. I wanted a display that was light, that let light through, you know, and there was nothing interfering with the artwork. So I put in, actually, I got a grant for this display. It's covered by Ontario Arts Council. You know, the display portion of this was covered. So anyway, so I have this designed. I have the art pieces kind of fudged in on my computer, kind of what they might look like. I fudged them in and I had to look at it to see, you know, how it would look, and I thought, well, that would look good, and I placed this guy right in the middle, you know, and that was the plan. So that's why there's, you know, there's area there with the glass to leave the big guy. So once I finished this, and I put the vase there, and I stood back, and you know what I saw? I saw one large vase, and everything else just disappeared. It didn't even look that good. So then I pulled that out, and I would be able to build a new stand for this vase, and there it is. So I know I'm getting to your question, why the red? So what happened was I had this vacancy. So then I added some pieces that I had from prior times. So the red vase, I made that about 2 years ago. It's I think it's made out of maple, and it's got a red lacquer finish on it, the red stain. There's gold dust put on it in a pattern while the lacquer was wet, and then overcoated with lacquer some more, and stamped with some stars and stuff on the bottom. So that's how I did that one. The other one, does that answer your question about that one? Okay. And I think, like, I have to add pieces to fill in the space. And I think the pieces I added actually probably, you know, fit in with the Grecian style. So yeah. So there's that green one that's also stamped with. There's like, it's like a gold dust, and you just pick it up with some pattern and stamp it and overcoat. Which ones? Oh yeah. Oh, and those are architectural domes of Eastern European buildings, for example. So I thought they might fit in here as well, because you might see that in Grecian culture as well. They are boxes you can lift off the finial, and you can see a box inside.
You can do one.
Okay. Well, no, I'm gonna drop it with wood, like that. Like I can show people after. Okay. So. So what else? Tom, did I thank you for helping me? Okay. I'm just looking at your card for that.
You're good.
Okay. Okay, so one thing, I haven't discussed this with Laura, but I'll just tell you. I'd like to do a Meet the Artist, actually, on Saturdays here, while I'm here, if that's okay. So, in case people want to come and get more information, you know, I'll make myself available on, what date?
June 8th, June 29th.
Oh, yes, right. So yeah, June 8th, that's this Saturday, June 29th, and July 13th from 12 till 2. So I'll come here and like tell people that would like to get more from me about this. I'll make myself available and talk about the art. Okay. So, closing. Oh, any other questions? Becky, you had a question. Where's Becky? Oh, okay. Do you know the question she had? Oh. Wow. Well, I still feel like, I planted that one. She asked me the question. I didn't answer it. I said, answer it later. Ask it later. Because, I could use that question.
And do you remember?
I remember, but I don't want to say it myself. No, okay. The question was, how long did it take to make that?
How long did it take to make that?
24 years. Yeah.
It's been in his head for that long.
Yeah. Did you know?
No, I know you.
Yeah.
I know how you work.
Oh, that's why I retired.
Exactly.
So the answer is, yes, it took 24 years because the wood that I used for that is spruce, and I stored that wood inside the wall of one of our, inside our house in one of the walls for 24 years. And then I just took the wood out last October and used it for this purpose.
It was your screened-in porch?
It was the divider between the entranceway and the dining room. There was a wall. And I took the wall out and I used the spruce.
So
Isn't that great? I
that
mean,
wasn't fog, it was fall.
yes.
Found in wall.
Yes. And no, but the thing is, you know what? Those are the best, the straightest 2x4s and driest I have ever used. And they were straight. I mean, this is 24 years ago. There was no warpage or anything. So I cut her up into the pieces. Jeff, you saw it in my workshop. I cut her up into pieces and then segmented them, and there it is. So I left the inside. If you want to see, you can see the inside. What it looks like. All these pieces are finished on the inside. They have the same type of finish. Same brilliance, everything. So anyway. So any other questions? Just basic.
I think that your finishes are very beautiful and very unique. I think that you've done something that I've never seen before. But I know you as a woodworker, and I know that you love wood, and I know that you love grade. So do you feel sad that you're covering up wood at times when you do this type of art?
Well, it's kind of a new departure. Yeah, it's covering it up. But see, I left this one for that reason.
Yes.
I couldn't cover that up because, that was cherry. So, yeah. Yeah, well, there's several. I still like that. That's curly maple. So, but you know what? Like I've been involved with artists, for a few years through Art Space and other places. So, things that I love, about, my own art and wood and all that. And so I found, well, maybe artists, like this better, apart from myself, like this better than that, for example. So that's why I'm trying more that way. And
It's not really covered up now.
no, that's not. So, and maybe the general public also, maybe they appreciate, more boldness of colors and things like that. So, is that a good statement, or?
Yes.
So, Amanda, what's your question?
Oh, I'm just amazed that it would terrify me to do what you did, because just understanding the stresses and just, you amaze me every time I see what you do. That's, just super. I don't even beg to ask a question.
Well, we'll do it over wine.
We'll do it over wine.
Yes,
So I have to know, have you drank wine out of the vessels?
not yet.
No?
Yeah.
Not yet?
If they don't sell, we'll take them home and we'll use it. Yeah, so picking up on what you were saying, Amanda. So I heard a phrase the other day about art in general. Something to the effect that it is better to be concerned what the sentiment and appearance creates rather than concern of the appearance itself. So I hope that my appearance of Grecian art has created some good sentiments in you. Thanks for coming.